What is going on? Back at David Confused. Let's talk vampires. So vampire movies have been around literally forever, like videos like Nosferatu or Dracula. Dracula meets Frankenstein. Dracula's met a lot of people over the years. I'm just saying, like, I'm pretty sure he's even met Scooby-Doo. I'm just saying. But vampires recently, I would say in the last like 10 years, have taken a total different road than they have before. Especially with movies like Twilight, shows like Supernatural, Vampire Diaries, True Blood. Vampires have taken a really different detour on what vampires used to be. And not all of them are bad. I don't think every reincarnation of the vampire is awful, but some are. Let's be honest. But this video, we're going to talk about really good vampire movies that if you haven't seen yet, you should probably go see. And everybody loves a good vampire flick, right? I want to suck your blood! Ironically, it was never said in an old school vampire movie. Yeah, that line, I want to suck your blood, was actually created by a comedian back in like the 40s or 50s. And it was never said in a franchise motion picture film featuring Dracula. And now you know, and knowing is half the battle. But now that we're here talking about vampires, the first movie we're going to talk about is Daybreakers, starring Willem Dafoe and Ethan Hawke. This is a really, really cool overlook at what vampires could eventually become. So the world is basically taken over by vampires, and humans are used as cattle, and they use the human body as just like farming equipment in order to get blood to feed all the vampires. But here's the problem. They're running out of humans. The blood supply is going down very quickly and all the vampires are worrying about it. And when a vampire doesn't get enough blood, they turn into like almost like a rabid beast. So the government run by vampires is trying to think of a fake blood substitute, just a synthetic blood in order to feed vampires so they don't die, but they can't do it. In the midst of everything, a small group of vampires have discovered a way to become human again. And in doing that could eventually save humanity. And not everyone has to die like a vampire. But not everybody agrees with the decision in order to go back to being human. So that's where the conflict comes in. It's a great action movie, it's a great horror movie, it's a great sci-fi movie. And if you haven't seen it yet, you should definitely check it out. Okay, so this is a comic book movie / vampire movie, and you're gonna be like, why is this on this list? Just hear me out. Blade 2 starring Wesley Snipes is literally one of the best vampire movies around, and let me tell you why. So Blade, being a half vampire, half human kind of hybrid, hunts vampires. So the main vampire government cult leader guy basically tries to genetically change vampires in order to be almost indestructible. And he actually uses his own son as the guinea pig for this experiment, which doesn't necessarily work out great for him, but he'll find that out later. But the type of vampire that it spawns is like a whole nother level of vampire. So this vampire's jaw opens up completely like the Predator, and its tongue is covered with like teeth that latches onto its victim to pull in way more blood than the average vampire could. On top of that, its entire rib cage is a solid structure, so you can't put a stake through its rib in order to kill it like you would an average vampire. And its agility and strength is far beyond the average vampire. That's what makes this movie so awesome, is that vampires have to ask Blade to help them hunt down the genetically changed vampires. It's so awesome. The action in it is wicked. Amazing, amazing actors like Wesley Snipes, Ron Perlman, Norman Reedus. It's just an overall amazing movie. And yeah, it's a comic book movie based on a comic book character, but it's still so good. So I definitely recommend Blade 2. So the next awesome vampire movie I'm going to talk about is called From Dusk Till Dawn. And it stars George Clooney, and Quentin Tarantino, the director Quentin Tarantino, who actually wrote this movie and starred in it. Basically, two criminal brothers escape prison and try to make their way to Mexico. And they're supposed to meet friends in Mexico to help them live in Mexico and escape the FBI and everything. So they hijack like a RV with a family inside, and it's just basically like, you don't bother us, we won't bother you, we just need to get to Mexico. So they do get to Mexico, and they go into this like strip club, gentleman's bar area, and they have to wait there overnight till their friends can pick them up. But they don't realize that the bar is infested with vampires. But not just any vampires, like demonic, crazy, jump out at you, face crazy, changing vampires. Like, it's corny, it's cheesy, but it's so good and so well done. It's that type of horror movie where like things defy gravity and all these like, you know, weaponry and everything doesn't make sense in real life, but the just movie's hilarious and amazing. It's a rated R movie, a very rated R movie, so please be aware of that before you go watch it. But From Dusk Till Dawn is an amazing vampire movie, and it actually has Danny Trejo in it, who's one of my favorite actors of all time. So like I said, go watch this movie if you're old enough to watch rated R movies, because it's definitely rated R. And now, I'm sure you've probably already heard of this movie, and you rightly should, because it's probably the best vampire movie of all time, is The Lost Boys. In 1987, The Lost Boys is based on a group of vampires that kind of look like punk rockers, and they only come out at night, and they just terrorize the town. And it's up to these kids who find out they're vampires to do something about it. What the big selling feature of this movie is how they display their vampires. They hang upside down during the day while they sleep. They have facial disfiguration when they change into vampires. It's so 80s, so they have like a mullet and curly hair and the denim jackets, and they have the attitude of like, we're too cool for everybody. Like, that's the best part about this movie, is how 80s this movie is. But it has a solid cast with both Corey Feldman and Corey Haim, and also Kiefer Sutherland and Diane West. So it's a pretty awesome cast for this movie. And it's got one of the best climaxes at the end of the movie that I've seen in a long time. And I don't want to ruin it for you, because I really want you to see this movie. This movie had an $8.5 million budget to make, and it gained over $32.5 million in revenue. So you know this movie's good. And it's literally considered one of the biggest cult classics of all time. So you should probably go check out The Lost Boys. Thank you so much for tuning into David Confused and watching this video about vampires. I really appreciate it. And what else do you want to see? What other movies do you want to talk about? Leave in the comments below. I'm also on another channel called Wreck All the Things, where I also do talking head videos just like this one about other movies. You should go check out that channel. The description in it is below. Wreck All the Things 1 on YouTube. All one word, Wreck All the Things 1. And again, thank you for tuning into this video. I super appreciate you guys being here. Leave a like and subscribe. And at least our dogs aren't werewolves or vampires. Peace.